Last up is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this movie is the 9th movie by Quentin Tarantino. And he has said, I believe, since before, I don't know if it was before Reservoir Dogs or his first movie or whatever, which I believe is Reservoir Dogs. But he said that he's only going to make 10 movies. And I believe he counts the Kill Bill 1 and 2, or 1, 2, and 3 if there's a third. Maybe there's just 2. I think he counts those as 1. And by that count, this is his 9th, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Which means there's only one more coming, if he actually sticks to that. But, yeah, this was... Obviously, all of Quentin Tarantino's movies are quality. You're going to get dope dialogue, which you absolutely get in this one. The storyline is about a actor that is washing up, I would say. Like, he's not completely washed up, but he's definitely on the tail end of washing up. And has, like, one last, like, hurrah. But he's definitely in the tail end of his career. And him dealing with being this big-time star from, like, a decade or 2 ago to this new reality where he's a washed-up actor. And that gentleman is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, that you see go through these emotions as this washed-up actor. Like, it's like an actor playing an actor. And he does it so well, so dope, so believably, that it's just, like, it's... I know a lot of people have said this, and whenever Leonardo DiCaprio or, like, a big name like that has a role, everybody's like, oh, it's an Oscar-winning role or whatever. But this is, like, one of those that I actually saw that. You know what I mean? Like, I saw, yeah, this is an Oscar-winning role. Or an Oscar-worthy performance, or whatever you call it. There's this scene that has gotten some controversy with Bruce Lee in it. And they say that they made Bruce Lee kind of sound like an idiot, like a douchey idiot. And I honestly, I thought that I was going to have that same type of reaction. Once I heard that criticism of it, but I actually didn't. I thought it was, like, really funny. It's like a scene where Brad Pitt, who's also in the movie and plays he was like the stunt double of Leonardo DiCaprio's character when he was, like, at the top of his game and had, like, this big time show from back in the day, and movies and stuff like that. But as Leonardo DiCaprio has become, like, washed up, Brad Pitt's character has just kind of become, like, his driver and, like, his right hand man, and did, like, odd jobs for him, like, around the house and stuff like that. So Leo gets this role on the set of a movie and talks Brad Pitt into, you know, getting, like, a very small part. And there's, like, this behind the scenes thing going on where Bruce Lee's just, like, holding court and, like, talking shit amongst a whole bunch of people, and Brad Pitt included. And Brad Pitt's just sitting there, and Bruce Lee's talking about how he could fuck up, like, I don't know, some, like, big dude. I forgot who he was referencing. And Brad Pitt kind of, like, scoffs at him, kind of, like, laughs, and then Bruce Lee calls him out, and Brad Pitt's like, nah, I don't want any problems or whatever. Don't worry about it. And Bruce Lee's, like, pushing him to tell him, no, like, what the fuck? Why are you laughing? Do you think I can't do that? And then Brad Pitt, who doesn't hold his tongue, you know, he's kind of like a badass kind of guy in the movie, and says, no, you know what? I think that you're a little shit. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, I think you're a little shit. A little shit Chinaman or something like that with a chip on his shoulder. And if you really did go at so-and-so, he'd probably pick you up and snap you in half. And he was like, oh, you really think that? Bruce Lee. And then Bruce Lee challenges him to, like, some sort of, not a fight, but he's like, let's have a wager. If I knock you down first, then I win. And if you knock me down, you win, or whatever. I forgot what they were actually betting on, but Brad Pitt was like, all right. And then Bruce Lee does this, like, the legendary flying through the air, like, kick that Bruce Lee does. that might as well be like a fucking Jordan logo. And he kicks Brad Pitt in the chest, and Brad Pitt falls. And it was like, oh. And then Brad Pitt asked him if he could do it one more time. I was like, of course, I could do it as much as I want. Bruce Lee, like, indicates or whatever. And then Bruce Lee goes to do it again, and Brad Pitt catches him in midair, flings him around with using his own momentum, and throws him up against the side of a car and completely dents like the two doors of the side of the car. It was just like unexpected and super hilarious. But yeah, I didn't feel bad about that scene. I thought it was actually pretty dope. And I think Bruce Lee's daughter, like Shannon Lee, like she was complaining about how her father was depicted and stuff like that. And I've heard other people say the same. But again, I thought it was like a fun, funny scene. That was like more about how badass Brad Pitt was than how much of a like quote unquote doofus or whatever they were trying to make Bruce Lee out to be. What else? The ending of the movie kind of like threw me off a bit, and I didn't know how to feel about it. But now I'm good with it. But it's kind of like I had my expectations on. I expected to see something that I didn't, which is, for those of you that know, and I don't know the story too well, but part of the murders that Manson, Charles Manson, I guess you could say, created or is responsible for, was responsible for, were not murders that he himself did, but he had like this cult of like hippies and like runaways that thought he was a god, and he manipulated them into committing murders. And the most notable of these murders, and I'm not sure if maybe these were the only ones, were the wife of the actress Sharon Tate, which was the pregnant wife of Roman Polanski, which was or is that director guy that I believe lives in like France or like a country that doesn't have extradition because he like married or was with like an underage girl and like bounced to there and doesn't have extradition. But up until that point was like a dope director in Hollywood. And Sharon Tate was 8 months pregnant at the time, and these Manson-led little hippie murderers wound up in real life like going to this house of these like Hollywood elite, quote unquote, and committing like a gruesome murder of Sharon Tate with the baby inside her belly and whoever else was there. I think like 2 or 3 other people. And I expected to see that as kind of like the climax of the movie, because there was like a lot of overlap between like the stories of Brad Pitt's character mainly, and like encountering like this hippie commune or whatever and stuff like that. But so I expected that to be like the climax of the story, but what it wound up being was, spoiler alert, the hippies go into Leonardo DiCaprio's house, which happened to live next door, I should have mentioned before, to Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate. They wind up encountering, the badass Brad Pitt character. Leo's in like his pool with headphones on and stuff, so he doesn't hear what's going on. Brad Pitt has like a dog that he commands with fucking subtle movements and shit. A big ass like pit bull, but not a pit bull, but like pit bull looking dog, like one of those brolic ass dogs. It's like a hilariously dope, gory, Quentin Tarantino gory style scene at the end where Brad Pitt winds up fucking them up. These like 2 hippies, one of the dogs kills one of them, like bites their face off or some shit. Brad Pitt slamming the head of one of the other ones like on the coffee table. And it was just like a funny but gory scene at the same time. And it was extra funny while like leading up to it. And then Leonardo DiCaprio's character winds up grabbing like a prop that he had from one of his movies from when he was like in his heyday, he had like this blowtorch gun, and when he notices something is going on is after like all this fighting and gory shit is going on in the house, one of them flies through the window and lands in the pool that Leonardo DiCaprio's in. And he runs and he's like, what the fuck? And he grabs this, and this fucking like girl like jumps up with a knife and she's about to like stab him or whatever, and he runs and grabs this blowtorch and just torches the fuck out of her. He like completely la chichara, like she's like charcoal. And it was just hilarious that it happened with that blowtorch and the way it happened, and it was just like sick. And then it kind of ends with like Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski kind of asking like what happened and stuff like that. And then Roman Polanski invites him to the house, and he obliges. He goes, and he's like this washed up actor that he had mentioned like in the movie, like, oh my god, Roman Polanski lives next door to me and maybe I could get a role from him and I'll be back, and like stuff like that. So it kind of ends with them like actually befriending him, Leonardo DiCaprio's character. And you get the feeling that it's something like that is going to happen. He's going to get like his second wind in Hollywood. And then, but again, I wasn't expecting this. Like I was expecting to see like what actually happened. But then, what flashes above like the scene or whatever is the title of the movie again, which is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And like fables and fake stories or whatever start off with once upon a time in a land, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like that was Quentin Tarantino, like reminding folks, this is a fictional story. Obviously it's a fictional story, but since it's based around real events, I felt like that was like his way of saying, remember that this is just a made up story. Which then made me see it as, you know what, you're right. And I think that's what kind of like made me okay with a bit of like unease that I was feeling of like what actually happened versus what happened in the movie. Which is a testament to, again, Quentin Tarantino and his genius of storytelling. He led me at least to believe the whole time that this story would lead up to that certain point with the actual Manson murders. But it went somewhere else altogether, unexpectedly. It was extremely entertaining and dope in and of itself, like that ending scene. And then making you okay with the fact that you didn't go where you thought you were going to go. And I think that's masterful. Anyway, folks, that's all I got. That is episode 135 of the Spun Today Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it.